Afternoon, Chris. If I can just start with the news that came out of the club this week regarding Tom Wagner recovering from a stroke. Obviously, everyone connected with the club wishes him a speedy recovery and hopefully see him back at St Andrews very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, from my point of view, we wish Tom, fastest recovery possible. We were shocked, obviously, and very concerned to hear the news. Tom's someone that, the driving force behind Knighthead, and obviously been a big part of it since I've been here. Someone I respect greatly and think a lot of, and I said to the players, he's pretty much brought every single player to the club as well that's here. So yes, first thoughts go to him and his family for a very difficult situation, because football. Sort of the football side pales into insignificance when you think of health and everything else. But what I would say is that every update that I've got regularly has been that he's recovering very well, which is very positive. I think he received quick treatment, which is critical in those situations, and he's improving very well from what I've heard on his recovery. So, and I know the people at Knighthead really well. I know Andrew Shanahan will be here for the game. Ara Cohen, who's the co-founder, will be here for the game on the weekend. I spoke to those two regularly, as well as the other guys at Knighthead. So they've been very, sort of quick to get together and show that solidarity. And I know we'll do that as a club.
In terms of the squad, Chris, we're obviously coming to the third game of this week. How is the fitness and everyone after Tuesday night's game?
Everyone's okay. Yeah, I think doing well. We've obviously had an intense game. I think fair to say. I think it was a game we felt we should have got the win, but it was a hard-fought game. So I think some of the players are in that recovery mode now. But now we're gearing up, obviously, to the next match. So yes, we're doing okay.
I'm sure you've had a chance to watch Tuesday's game back a couple of times. Frustrating night, but is there there's a lot of positives you can take from it, as well as some elements that we can still work on?
Yeah, I think so. I think we've played a game there where you look at the end of it, because of particularly the way we finished. You look at it overall and say, well, we've had a handball on the line, should have been, a penalty. We've hit the post. We've had a goal disallowed. The keeper made a fantastic save. We've had a great goal line clearance. There's enough there to get a goal in. And I don't think James Beadle had a save to make. So that suggests that over that course of that game, we should have probably taken the 3 points. But we did. There was a solidity to us. We weren't as fluent as I'd like us to be in spells of the game. I think West Brom were obviously sat in trying to frustrate us, and it shows also the progress that we've made as a club, I'd say, as well, in direct relation to West Brom. Who had seen that when I first came, we played them in pre-season, and they were a very, very good top championship team at the time. Very good footballing team. And you get to the end of that game at home for us, and you can see what it meant to them to get a point. So I think that says a lot about the progress that we've made in that time. So wasn't to be.
When you look at the amount of changes that have happened to the squad in such a short space of time, is it important to remember that we're kind of seeing in real time a squad that's having to gel quickly, lots of games, and adapt to the demands of maybe coming into a new country and the methods that you want to get across to the squad?
Yeah, and I think they've adapted really well. I mean, our last, since, this calendar year, from the sort of Coventry game onwards, our last 7 games, our performances generally and our returns have been exceptional, really, across the league. But yeah, there's players that are not only new, but some are young. So, and I've said previously that we can't expect them to have 8, 9 out of 10 performances every single week or 90 minutes of every game. It's just not how it works with developing young players. And but I think the adaptation's been really good. I think they've got up to speed pretty quickly. I think you can see the connections. For example, Kai Wagner and Osman, they're linking up on that side, and you can see sometimes it's that split second earlier, or the more they play together, that they might make those movements and combinations. And you can see it even in training that they're getting there. But they never met each other, a few weeks ago. So it does take a little bit of time. But I've been really pleased with how the new players have adapted.
A short break from league action this weekend. How much are you and particularly the players looking forward to testing themselves against Premier League opposition?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's you're sort of in championship mode, and then you sort of step out of it, and then you go to think about the FA Cup, and you get excited about that, and that's where we are right now. This is a break, a pause in the championship season, and it's now us focusing on the FA Cup. I think the best domestic cup competition there is around the world. Something that we obviously want to go as far as we can in every game, but this is a particularly special one because we're playing against Premier League opposition at our stadium. A little bit like the Newcastle game last year, where we get to test ourselves and measure ourselves against a Premier League team. I know it's going to be quicker. The game's going to be quicker. We have to be ready for that. I've been speaking to the players and we've been working on that, and we can really look forward to it.
This club obviously has ambitions and aspirations to be in the Premier League, so is this another good opportunity for us to sort of see where we are now on this journey, similar to Newcastle last year?
Well, it is, yeah. I think I'm sure the general consensus would be a Premier League team like Leeds would be expecting to progress against Championship opposition, but we're at home. We've got a team in Leeds who I've been watching closely and have enjoyed watching closely in the last week because I think they've really held their own in the Premier League this season. They've not, they're bucking that trend by the looks of it of teams going up and coming straight back down. There's a lot to be said for that. I think they are obviously a very well organised outfit, but they've been holding their own in games. I watched the Chelsea game in detail. The Everton game, I watched that when it was on TV. They're a very good team, and for us to test ourselves against a team like that is exactly what I think we want right now. Every week's a test in the Championship, but just what the Premier League is it's the pace of the game, the physical speed of the players, but also the perceptive speed, how quick they think, react, how quickly the ball moves, and I think that's something that our players are really excited about, testing themselves within.
Pleasing for you though and the players to come into this game with the momentum that we've built certainly since the turn of the year.
Yeah, we have built some very good momentum. You can see the season quite clearly in parts now. We've got the FA Cup, which we want to progress in, obviously, and then we ultimately have 7 games international break and 7 games. So, and if you look at our last 7 games in the Championship, they've been very encouraging. So, yes, we're coming to that final part of the season, but there's a lot still to play for, and very excited about it.
Just finally from me, Chris, just a couple of injury updates. How is Paik, obviously, after coming off early on Tuesday night? Yeah,
he's okay. He's obviously it's the shoulder again, so he's getting more definitive information from a specialist next week. But he's sort of, day by day, it sort of feels a little bit better. But it's obviously a significant injury, so he's gonna go and see the specialist, and we'll see where we go from there.
Probably too difficult to put any timescale on recovery at this stage.
It is hard to without that sort of appointment. I think it's for Paik, he'll do everything he can. Paik shouldn't have even been. Most players, when Paik did his shoulder at Middlesbrough, most players would have been out for 2 months. Paik was back within 2 weeks, so it says everything about him. But obviously, the more you do shoulder, you have to weigh everything up. But I think all options are on the table, is what I'll say. So we'll have to see what the specialist says.
Can we just check in on Ethan Laird's progress and Jack Robinson as well, who might not be a million miles away?
Yeah, so Ethan is training. I say training, it's very, first steps into training. He's done one sort of proper group session, and that was today. So that's great to see him back. He's got a fantastic energy about him and demeanour about him when he's with the team, and he's got obviously been a very important player for me at the time here. It's such an unfortunate injury, but to have him back now training just boosts us. So the plan for him is to have a good week or two's training to really get himself up to speed, and then we've got a very, very good player there. With Jack, he's a little bit similar. He's not quite on the same as Ethan. He's a little bit behind that. But then again, he was out for less time than Ethan, so we'll see him hopefully with the group properly in the next few days.